I had been with the Crown Prince of Beijing's elite circle for 5 years. Everyone said I was a substitute who had taken advantage of an opening. I did not care at all. I still stayed obediently and meekly by Oliver's side. Later, he publicly held his first love in his arms and embarrassed me. I did not make a scene either. I turned around and left the capital. His friends advised him to restrain himself a little, but he sneered, "Let her suffer a little outside, and she'll come back crying. She can't live without me." Later, I collapsed in a pool of blood. Looking at him as he rushed toward me in panic, I knew the chance for revenge had come. Chapter 1. Oliver and I were about to get married. Saying I had taken advantage of an opening was not exactly wrong. In our senior year of high school, Oliver's first love, Camila, went abroad. To make her angry, Oliver turned around and chose me. His simp, "Do you want to be my girlfriend?" I said, yes. I wanted to. I wanted to very much. This was the only hope I had waited years for. Oliver and I had never argued. Whatever he said was what went. He was very satisfied with how understanding I was. Gradually, he learned to coax me, accompany me, take me to meet his friends, and bring me to their gatherings. Even though they did not like me, they did not dare mention Camila in front of Oliver. But behind his back, they would mock me, saying I was nothing but a substitute. Once Camila came back, Oliver would kick me aside. I knew what they said was true. Chapter 2. On my birthday, Oliver prepared a birthday banquet for me at a hotel. But unfortunately, we ran into Camila. Over the years, I would occasionally see reports about her online. She had gone from being unknown to becoming a household name Best Actress. She was discussing a new movie with some investors and major directors. Hearing Camila's name, Oliver stopped. Inside, a man told Camila to drink with him. Camila refused. So the man began spewing filthy insults. "Camila, who the fuck do you think you are? So what if you're a Best Actress? Now that you're back in the country, don't you still have to obediently eat with me? I'm showing you respect by taking an interest in you. Don't reject kindness and shame yourself." Oliver's grip on my hand suddenly tightened, squeezing me until it hurt. Then the sound of a woman calling for help came from inside, and Oliver rushed straight in. Oliver beat that man viciously, his whole body full of hostility. No one dared approach. It looked like he was about to kill someone. Camila stepped forward to stop him. "Oliver, I'm so scared." Oliver let go of the man, and Camila took the chance to throw herself into his arms and cry loudly. Oliver did not push her away. Right in front of me, in front of everyone, he stroked her hair and comforted her softly. "Don't cry, I'm here." Someone behind me began whispering, "Camila is back." "Then what about Luna?" Someone sneered and replied, "Now that his white moonlight is back, of course she should step aside and get lost." It felt as if a huge wad of cotton had been stuffed into my chest, leaving me unable to breathe. Oliver left with Camila in his arms. Without even glancing at me, I looked at Oliver's back and called out, "Oliver." He did not stop. He had left me there. Chapter 3. That night, I did not return to the villa. Instead, I went home. The news spread too quickly. As soon as my adoptive father came back, he scolded me head-on. "Everyone outside is saying Oliver dumped you. Is that true?" "No." Hearing my denial, my adoptive father let out a long sigh of relief and began earnestly advising me to be magnanimous. "As long as it's not true, Luna. Men only fool around outside. The most important thing is that while his family's old master still dotes on you, you need to hold on tightly. Once you marry into his family, those mistresses won't be able to stir up any real trouble." I secretly rolled my eyes in my heart, but on the surface, I replied obediently, "I understand, Dad. I'll go back tomorrow." My adoptive father was very satisfied. My adoptive father, Nestor, was the director of Kyoto Hospital, which belonged to Oliver's family. When I was 9, my mother worried herself sick and died in depression. At the funeral, I fainted from a high fever. After I woke up, Nestor said he was a friend of my father, who had passed away long ago, and later adopted me. Nestor often took me to Oliver's family home. The old master liked me very much, and later arranged for me to attend Oliver's school. Nestor deliberately wanted to climb up to Oliver's family, and I naturally became Oliver's little shadow. Chapter 4. Yesterday, Oliver brought Camila back to our villa. The fingerprint lock kept giving error prompts. In the end, I could not help calling Oliver. But the person who opened the door was not him. Camila was wearing a slip night dress, smiling as she apologized to me. I'm sorry, Luna, I didn't have any clothes to wear. So Oliver gave me yours, right, Oliver? Oliver walked down from the stairs and echoed. I told her to wear them. It's fine. I glanced at the clothes on the sofa and walked straight toward the master bedroom. I randomly stuffed my things into a suitcase and headed for the front door. Oliver came forward and wrapped his arms around me. What are you doing? I glared at him fiercely and said I was making room for Camila. But he laughed, holding my face. He lowered his head and kissed me. I dodged to the side, but he held me in place so I could not move. Jealous? Her clothes got stained with wine yesterday, so I let her change into yours first. I'll buy you new ones. I'll buy as many as you want. My tears instantly poured down, dripping onto his hand. I turned my head and bit the web between his thumb and index finger. Trembling, I asked him if he wanted to break up with me. He said no. I looked past Oliver and saw Camila behind him. Her hands were clenched into fists, gripping her skirt tightly, her eyes full of jealousy and unwillingness. Chapter 5. From that day on, Camila kept stealing people away from my side. She said she was drunk. She said she was being followed by stalker fans. She said she had been threatened by anti-fans. Every few days, she would call Oliver and ask him to go over. That made sense. Camila had always been spoiled and willful. I had already seen that back in high school. Any woman who intentionally approached Oliver had been dealt with. I was no exception. In our second year of high school, Oliver wanted to surprise Camila, so he secretly transformed the classroom together with her classmates. Unexpectedly, the classroom was destroyed, and Camila was so angry that she cried on the spot. One of Camila's little followers said she had seen me come by that afternoon. As soon as Camila made a fuss, Oliver coaxed her and then punished me. It's you again, following me around like a shadow all day. Do you want to climb up through me that badly? Since you did it, then crawl on the floor and clean it up bit by bit with your clothes. He also threatened that whoever dared help me would be made to leave the school. From that day on, everyone knew Oliver hated me, and they began bullying me in secret without holding back. Camila blocked me in the restroom and slapped me hard several times. She said she had been the one who had someone trick me into coming, and that all of this had been staged by her. She was not afraid at all that the truth would be exposed, because both she and I knew that even if it was exposed, Oliver would not do anything to her. Oliver had always despised me, so I changed my target and persistently began coaxing his family's old master instead. In our senior year of high school, Oliver had a heart attack once. That time, he almost lost his life. It was also after that incident that Camila went abroad. At first, Oliver was immersed in the emotions of heartbreak. He was extremely irritable and smashed things in the hospital room every day. Every time he finished smashing things, I would silently clean up. Later, he gradually became calm and began accepting my existence. When it was time to choose our university applications, I applied to medical school, cardiac surgery. The old master paused for a moment and asked me why. I said, Oliver's heart isn't good. If I study medicine, I'll be able to take better care of him in the future. The old master was very satisfied and kept praising my adoptive father for teaching me well. And Oliver stared straight at me, his expression complicated. Chapter 6. Camila claimed that she had nowhere to live in the country. So Oliver waved his hand generously and bought her an apartment. Everyone said that he would soon abandon me. I pretended to be deaf and mute, obediently preparing for the wedding. Oliver held me, playing with my hair as he asked softly, "Are you that eager to marry me?" My eyes stung. I lay against his shoulder and said, "I've been waiting for this day my entire life." I turned my head and lightly bit his ear, saying very domineeringly, "You can't leave me behind for someone else again, otherwise, I won't want you anymore." Oliver smiled and said, "Okay." Unfortunately, I did not believe him. Chapter 7. A gathering of elites. When I arrived, Camila was already sitting beside Oliver. When Camila saw me, she came forward and linked her arm through mine, speaking gently and softly. "Luna, why did you arrive so late?" What happened last time was all my fault. Oliver only let me change clothes because he was worried I would catch a cold. Don't blame him. I simply looked at her coldly as she put on her performance. Then I tossed the hair by my ear back, revealing the kiss mark on the side of my neck. Camilla's grip on my hand suddenly tightened, and her eyes were already red. Halfway through, I left the private room and deliberately stood by the swimming pool to enjoy the breeze. The instant I turned my head, sure enough, I saw Camilla walking over. My eyelid twitched sharply, and I put down my bag. Don't be in such a hurry to leave. I didn't expect you to still be this shameless. Do you really think Oliver will marry you? You're nothing but a substitute. Now that I'm back, you should know your place and get lost. Maybe you can still open your mouth and ask for some money. I scoffed. He nearly died back then. And you? You couldn't wait to run abroad. What makes you think Oliver will still revolve around you? I caught her completely off guard and slapped her across the face, then grabbed her hair. Who do you think you are? A best actress? You're just someone who knows a man is taken and still wants to be the other woman. Camilla screamed from the pain and suddenly grabbed me hard. You dare hit me? My tone changed, and I said pitifully, Oliver and I are about to get married. Grandpa also likes me. Camilla, stop trying to harm Oliver. That old man already has one foot in the grave. What can he possibly control? So what if he likes you? Oliver likes me. Camilla glanced behind her from the corner of her eye. Didn't you want to know whether Oliver would still revolve around me? I'll show you now. As soon as she finished speaking, she dragged me straight into the swimming pool. Then she began struggling desperately and shouting for help. I also wanted to call for help, but I could not make a sound, nor could I see. I only heard a voice from the shore. Sir, Oliver, save me. I can't swim. I was rescued from the water, while Oliver came up holding Camilla in his arms. In Oliver's arms, Camilla kept trembling and cried as she complained. Oliver, I only wanted to be friends with Luna. She pushed me into the water. I can't swim. I almost died. Oliver, I didn't. Before I could finish speaking, Oliver interrupted me coldly. Camilla can't swim. Since when did you become so unable to tolerate others? Apologize to her. I froze in place. It was like this again. I pulled up the corners of my mouth and asked with a smile. Oliver, why do you only listen to her every time? She was clearly the one who dragged me into the water. I can't either. Someone shouted that Camilla had fainted, and Oliver abandoned me once again. Swim. This time, I still did not make a scene. The difference was that I left the capital directly. Chapter 8. I returned to the villa and took down the wedding dress in the walk-in closet. The wedding dress had actually been prepared long ago. It was beautiful, and I liked it very much. Unfortunately, I had gone to choose it alone, and tried it on alone. Now, I would destroy it alone. I threw the wedding dress, torn into several pieces, into the trash can by the door, dragged my suitcase, and left. I had no family and not many friends. The only person I could think of was the older brother from the neighbor's family before I was adopted. Over the years, we would occasionally exchange a few greetings. I picked up my phone and asked him. Unexpectedly, he replied to me right away. He said he was in Yunnan and told me to come over to relax. I booked the earliest flight and set off. The moment I arrived at the hotel, I could no longer hold back and burst into tears. That night, it was just me. Chapter 9. The next day, I saw Marco. During the day, he took me sightseeing everywhere. At night, he took me to a gathering on the lawn. The people here were all travelers from elsewhere. No one knew anyone else. They were only there to have fun. After several rounds of drinking, Marco could not help speaking. Since you left, we haven't seen each other again. Have you been doing well? Yes, I've been living in luxury. How could I not be well? You haven't smiled once all day. Hearing that, I froze. My heart felt as if countless needles were pricking it densely. Marco took a strip of candy out of his pocket. I remember that when you were little, you wore 2 small braids and ran to our classroom every day, asking your brother, asking him to buy you candy. It was this brand, right? I only found it at a small shop beside an elementary school. I turned my head and looked at that strip of candy, tears falling blankly. Brother. For so many years, no one had mentioned him. Chapter 10. I wandered around Yunnan without caring about anything for 3 days before finally logging into the app and turning on the internet. A phone call came in unexpectedly. It was Oliver's brother. Sister-in-law. You finally answered the phone. Where did you go? Oliver hasn't been able to contact you. In the private room. Hudson was overjoyed and looked toward Oliver as he spoke. Oliver. Sister-in-law wants to talk to you. Oliver's face, which had been full of hostility, seemed to relax a great deal. It's me. What are you looking for me for? Where did you go? The old master is looking for you everywhere. I'm in Yunnan relaxing. I'll call Grandpa and explain everything clearly. I'm the one who called off the wedding myself. I won't make things difficult for you. Hudson had turned on speakerphone. As soon as these words came out, the corners of Oliver's mouth instantly tightened. No, sister-in-law. What nonsense are you saying? Oliver was so worried because he couldn't contact you. His hand even got injured. Hudson noticed something was wrong and kept rambling on. There was silence on the other end of the phone. Sister-in-law, are you listening? There's no need to tell me about him anymore. Hudson held the phone as if it were a hot potato, standing there at a loss. The surroundings were deathly silent. Before the call was hung up, Oliver's cold voice came through, sneering. Let her suffer a little outside, and she'll come back crying. She can't live without me. Chapter 11. Oliver was not wrong either. I truly could not leave him. I turned my head and looked at that strip of candy, and no matter how much I wiped my tears, they would not stop. Then, all of a sudden, I could not stop retching. A bad feeling rose in my heart. I still went to the hospital. When the examination report was handed to me, I was no longer surprised. It seemed I could not delay any longer. Because of work, Marco took the same flight as me back to the capital. When we were about to part ways at the airport, I suddenly hugged him. He froze, then raised his head and looked at the furious man ahead. He reached out and hugged me back. You want him to see this, don't you? Yes. I deliberately let Oliver see it. When someone keeps looking upward blindly, the other person will instead enjoy it as a matter of course. But once it is lost, even if there is no love, possessiveness will still cause trouble. How could Oliver allow me to be with someone else? Marco, take care. Marco rubbed the top of my head, just like he had when he saw me on the road when we were children. Be careful not to get lost. Remember to go home. Home had long since stopped existing. I was dragged into the car by Oliver and taken back to the villa. No one spoke the entire way. I knew he was angry. I simply refused to coax him. Chapter 12. I came out of the bathroom and saw Oliver sitting on the sofa, holding the candy Marco had given me. Give it back to me. Hearing that, he raised his eyes fiercely, his gaze as dark as an abyss. You've only known him for a few days. Is he already that important? I said nothing and stepped forward to snatch it back. Oliver pulled me into his arms. Would it kill you to say one soft word to me? Don't you hate me so much? Isn't this great? I won't have to get in your way anymore. Anyway, you don't want to marry me, and I don't want to marry you anymore either. Let's break up. I successfully enraged him. Oliver threw that strip of candy against the wall. Then he pressed me down and threw me onto the bed. A long time later, he came up from behind and held me, kissing my shoulder blades. His nose pressed against the back of my neck as he softly comforted me while I was still crying in broken sobs. Don't say things like that again to make me angry. You said you had waited your whole life for the day you would marry me. I took it seriously. You're not allowed to go back on your word. His hand was still caressing my stomach. We will get married. In the future, we'll have a baby too. I looked at the candy shattered in the corner and let my tears fall. There already was one, but it could not stay. Chapter 13. The matter of Oliver making me apologize to Camila in public last time had long since spread. When Oliver heard other people gossiping, he declared that if he heard it again, they could forget about keeping their tongues. Every few days, Oliver sent me jewelry and took me out everywhere. He came home on time every day and no longer paid any attention to Camila. We were like an ordinary married couple. For a time, the tide turned. Everyone said Oliver doted on me so much. It successfully drove Camila mad again. That day was Oliver's birthday. I had originally planned to tell him, as a surprise, that I was already pregnant. But Camila interrupted me. Oliver, I'll move out of the villa tomorrow. We agreed before that even if we couldn't be together, we would still be lifelong friends. But as long as I'm here, I'll affect your relationship. In the future, when I'm not by your side, you have to take good care of yourself. Oliver's face darkened. We grew up together. Even if we can't be husband and wife, I'll still treat you as my little sister. You have no family left in the country. Where can you go? Camila suddenly shouted. Are you asking me to watch you marry another woman? I'll die. When I left you back then, I had no choice. My family forced me. I've been resisting all this time. After saying that, she revealed the scars from cutting her wrists. If I'm such an eyesore, I might as well go die. After saying that, she rushed out. Oliver froze for a few seconds, then chased after her without hesitation. See? A man's mouth is a lying ghost. He left me behind again, suppressing the panic in my heart. I followed them. I could not let Camila ruin my upcoming wedding. Chapter 14. I searched everywhere for Oliver. I only saw Oliver crouching on the ground, holding Camila, while Camila kept struggling. Oliver. I clearly came back. Why are you still with her? Oliver. You can't abandon me. I only have you. I clearly only have you. Oliver kept comforting her. Camila saw me, then lifted her head and asked Oliver. Oliver, you won't abandon me, right? You won't marry Luna, right? Say it! Oliver remained silent, but Camila relentlessly demanded an answer. You don't like Luna, right? You only treat her as a substitute, right? Seeing this, Camila began struggling again. Oliver immediately held her down and said with a smile, Yes, I don't like her. In an instant, it felt as if something shattered. I almost screamed out loud, Oliver! Why would you treat me like this? I gave a bitter smile and backed away. Oliver froze, not daring to turn his head. I looked at Camila's smug smile and suddenly went mad. Oliver, since you care about Camila that much, then I'll just go die. Looking at the car speeding toward me, I suddenly said calmly, I'll die together with the child and fulfill your wish. The vehicle slammed into my body. My skin scraped across the ground. The sound of brakes and screams rang out together. Oliver reached out and covered Camila's eyes. The person who used to hold me and comfort me even when I cut my finger now left me alone in a pool of blood. Oliver rushed over. Luna! Even his voice was trembling, and his eyes were full of panic. At that moment, I seemed to understand the look in his eyes back then. Oliver had fallen in love with me. I closed my eyes. I'm sorry, baby. Leave a mark. Remember me. You're a bad mother. Don't come looking for me again in the future. Chapter 15. The doctors kept issuing critical condition notices. At this time, the old master learned that I was not only being resuscitated, but also pregnant. He directly used his connections to investigate, and it turned out that this was not an accident at all. Although the driver who hit me had fled, how could he possibly escape being caught? After being frightened with just a few words, he spilled everything. This person was Camila's stalker fan. Camila had coaxed him into coming to hit me with the car, and he had even received a sum of money beforehand. The evidence was conclusive. At the same time, an audio recording stirred up the trending searches in the capital. Grandpa likes me too. Camila, stop trying to harm Oliver. That old man already has one foot in the grave. What can he possibly control? So what if he likes you? Oliver likes me. Didn't you want to know whether Oliver would still revolve around me? I'll show you now. After that, the recording ended with the sound of water. The comments online were all over the place. Some people began steering the conversation toward the best actress. Entertainment industry? Camila? Don't tell me they're talking about best actress Camila. The person above found the truth. The more I listen, the more that voice sounds like her. Without evidence. This is slander. Taking my sister away. How does it sound like her at all? Various bloggers also began making videos with all kinds of analyses. There were even voice print experts who compared it with Camila's interview videos. And the result was a 100% match. The internet exploded. Holy shit. Someone dug up this best actress's ex-boyfriend before. He seems super rich. Speechless. The man was already about to get married. And she still came to interfere. Is knowingly being the other woman something glorious? How shameless can she be? I'm dying. She wants to marry into his family. Yet she curses his grandpa. What kind of person is she? Why aren't Camila's dogs barking today? What nonsense are you saying? One look and you can tell this woman is the one who inserted herself. Who knows who the real other woman is? The person above is right. Back then, I also snatched my current husband back. And aren't we still loving each other just fine? It was all because that bitch kept clinging to him. I often feel that my worldview isn't cracked enough. And that's why I don't fit in with you people. You can whitewash even this? Open a laundromat. Maybe you can earn some money. No, you'll definitely earn some money. When a wall falls, everyone pushes it. Even people close to Camila began exposing her, saying that her claim of being forced to go abroad was fake. She had had a very exciting time abroad, and more dirt kept being dug up. The old master personally stepped in to blacklist her. Camila went to Oliver and begged him, still thinking that Oliver would tolerate everything she had done like he had back then. Oliver looked at her expressionlessly, then lifted his foot and walked away. He left the intensive care floor. Camila followed him all the way to the rooftop before he finally stopped. I hadn't gone to find you. Yet you delivered yourself to me, Oliver. I know I was wrong. I only hired someone to hit her because I love you too much. I didn't know she was pregnant. I didn't mean to kill her. Oliver suddenly shoved her against the railing, grabbed her neck, and pressed her downward. The veins on his hand bulged as he roared. She isn't dead yet. I'm sorry. I said it wrong, Oliver. After all these years of feelings between us, forgive me. Forgive you? Can you give me back my child? Or can you make her wake up? Aren't you always shouting about wanting to die, tricking me with wrist-cutting suicide attempts? Then die once too, and I'll forgive you. Half of Camila's body hung in the air. The strength in Oliver's hand kept tightening. Her face gradually turned red, and she could only weakly beat at him, unable to speak. Someone stepped forward to stop him, telling him not to lose control. Camila collapsed on the ground like a lump of mud on the verge of death, repeatedly experiencing the lingering terror of having survived. Oliver stared at her, his gaze cold as a thin blade. His chilling voice was like a soul-hooking demon as he ordered, "Make her disappear, sir. She's getting too much attention lately. If we attract any eyes." Hearing this, he could not help frowning, seeming to think it over. A moment later, only one faint sentence was heard. Then send her to prison, hiring someone to commit murder, let her die in there. If that isn't enough, dig up more dirt. Dig until there's enough for a death sentence. Camila looked at him in disbelief, already unable to speak. She reached out to grab the hem of Oliver's pants. Oliver, how can you treat me like this? His men stepped forward, grabbed Camila, and dragged her away. Camila struggled free wildly. She rushed straight toward Oliver and, from who knew where, pulled out a small knife, stabbing it hard into his shoulder. Oliver, even if Luna dies, you're the one who killed her. Ha ha ha. Do you think pushing all the blame onto me makes you clean? She'll never forgive you in this life. Even if I weren't between you two, there would forever be a dead child standing between you. If I can't live well, don't even think you two will live well either. Ha ha ha. Camila was dragged away. Her heart-wrenching shouts hurt him even more than that knife. Oliver did not go get the wound bandaged. He stood frozen in place, murmuring blankly, "She will forgive me." Chapter 16. I had no idea that I had already wandered around the gates of hell. All I knew was that I was dreaming, a beautiful dream. Sam, I want candy. I clung to the net around the basketball court and shouted at the young man shooting hoops inside. Several boys around him turned their heads at the same time. "Sam, your little sister is here again." Students came and went, gathering around the small shop by the school gate. I stood on tiptoe, but no matter how I jumped, I could not reach it. Sam lifted my heavy backpack, lifting me along with it, and I immediately grabbed the candy from the shelf. After he paid, the other boys parted ways with us. Summer nights came late, and the road home was still bright. Luna, the moment I turned around, he stepped into a small puddle and splashed water all over half my body. Furious, I chased after him, shouting as I ran, "Sam, I'm going to tell Mom that pretty girls are writing you love letters." The scene changed. In a hospital room, Sam wore an oxygen mask, his body connected to many machines that beeped and ticked. With tears in her eyes, Mom looked at the attending doctor and asked, "Doctor, is it true that a heart donor has been found?" "Yes, there is currently a matching heart donor. We will arrange surgery for your son as soon as possible." Mom covered her face and cried with excitement, then wiped her tears in a panic. She began bowing in every direction, murmuring for the Bodhisattva to bless him. Sam, on the other hand, seriously tried to scare me. "Let's see if you still dare make me buy candy for you every day." I had made a fuss about wanting Sam to buy candy, and Sam had fainted outside. That was why he had been sent to the hospital. I shook my head. I did not dare anymore. Mom pretended to scold him and lightly patted his leg. "Stop scaring your sister." I smiled as I watched Sam beg for mercy. The scene changed again. Outside the operating room, Sam waved casually and said, "Luna, stay here and watch. I'll be out soon. When the light above turns off, I'll come out and buy you candy." Mom walked back and forth, constantly muttering, "Bodhisattva bless him. Let him come out quickly." I looked at the red light sign and thought, "Sam, I can go without candy for now." The scene changed again. The light outside the operating room went dark. I craned my neck, looking behind the people who came out. There was no Sam, only Mom's heart-wrenching screams. Chapter 17. The moment I opened my eyes, someone wiped away the tears at the corners of my eyes. Every day after I woke up, Oliver stayed by my side, but I never said a single word to him. My adoptive father came to see me, taking advantage of the moment Oliver left the ward. He got straight to the point. "Are you stupid? You were pregnant. So why were you still fighting with a mistress? You should have gone straight to the old master. Would you still have needed to worry that your position wasn't secure? I really don't know why I brought you back in the first place." I looked at that familiar face, now only marked by traces of time, and spoke coldly. "Then why did you bring me back?" "Of course instead of criticizing me here, why don't you think of a way to use Oliver's guilt to help me rise to the top?" Nestor's attempt to cast his spell was interrupted when Oliver came in. I watched Nestor's eager, fawning attentiveness. Then I directly made my demand. "After I'm discharged, I'll intern in cardiac surgery at Kyoto Hospital." Before Nestor could refuse, Oliver agreed immediately. Not just this time. After that, no matter what request I made, Oliver obediently listened to me. It was just that I never mentioned marriage again. I directly treated him indifferently and left him out in the cold. I had to keep provoking him, making him take the initiative to give things to me, forcing them into my hands, so that no one would become suspicious. Chapter 18. I entered the hospital as an intern. Every day when I went to and got off work, Oliver came on time to wait for me. When my colleagues saw it, they all expressed envy. I said coldly, "If you like him, take him." I knew Oliver had heard me, ignoring the desolate look in his eyes. I walked around him and left. That night, Oliver did not come back for a long time. His lackeys took turns calling me and sending messages, saying he was drunk and asking me to pick him up. I directly muted my phone and went to sleep. It was not until after 3 in the morning, when a clattering crash sounded downstairs, that I got up to take a look. Oliver stood there helplessly, looking at the vase shattered all over the floor. His slightly flushed face turned toward me. "Baby." I turned and left. He quickly followed and stretched out his leg to block the bedroom door. Fine. If I could not close the door, I could still sleep. I had only taken 2 steps when I was tightly hugged. "When will you finally forgive me? I've already sent Camila to prison. She will never appear in front of you again in this life. What exactly do you want before you'll stop being angry? Baby, pay attention to me. I feel awful. Don't treat me like this. I love you." His gaze wandered messily as he grabbed me and kissed me. I looked at him calmly. "I don't love you." Oliver stopped and stared straight at me, judging whether my words were true or false. "I never loved you." Suddenly, he bit and tore at me like a wild beast, as if doing so could block the words I had not yet said. After a long while, his eyes cleared, and he told me not to say things like that. I only smiled and said nothing more. Oliver began anxiously warning me, "Luna, don't even think about leaving me in this life. You can only love me. If you dare fall in love with someone else, I'll make all of them disappear in every possible way." Chapter 19. The next day, I packed my things and ran out. After Oliver found out I had run away, he openly and secretly threatened me with my adoptive father's family. At the same time, he also threatened Nestor, telling him to keep a close eye on me. If I disappeared, the blame would fall on him. Seeing how much Oliver cared about me, Nestor smiled happily and indulged in his sweet dreams. But Oliver did not know. This adoptive father, Nestor, was not merely insignificant to me. I even wished he would die. I did not go home. Instead, I went to the prison to see Camila. Seeing Camila again, she was no longer the stunning best actress from the newspapers. She looked more like a hunched old woman. When Camila saw me, she could only babble meaningless sounds. I suppose that was the old master's handiwork. People merely grew old, even after wearing the clothes of virtue and prestige for a long time. If their insides were a needle, they were still a needle. But looking at her as vicious as ever, whatever she wanted to say was probably just curses anyway. Don't ask. I came here to laugh at you. There are some things I don't know who to tell. Keeping them bottled up feels rather uncomfortable, so I might as well share them with you. The recording started before you pushed me into the water. When I grabbed your hair, I was also the one who released the news to the entertainment headlines. And I hired the paid commenters too. You have been lying to Oliver all along. You actually knew I was pregnant, because I clearly released the news to you. And sure enough, the moment you were provoked, you went insane. Camila's face turned hideous. She shot to her feet with a loud movement, and the prison guard came over and pressed her down at once. I looked at her face, pinned to the table, tears streaking messily across it. Don't get too excited. You still have some hope of getting out. After all, some fans are still planning to break you out of prison and save you. As expected, happiness had to be built on someone else's tears. After coming out of the prison, I felt completely refreshed. Chapter 20. When Oliver learned that I had gone to see Camila, he rushed straight home to look for me. He said he wanted to marry me, so that I would never be able to run away again in this life. I had never thought about running, not in the past, and not afterward either. I said that on the day of the wedding. I wanted every elite, wealthy businessman, and well-known reporter in the circle to attend. He said yes. I said I wanted the entire wedding process to be live-streamed online. I wanted everyone to watch me marry you. I wanted Camila, even if she was in prison, to see it with her own eyes. He said yes. At that moment, I nodded. Only afterward did I realize it, and I laughed out loud. Chapter 21. On the day of the wedding, I wore the wedding dress Oliver had prepared, held the bouquet he had prepared, and walked toward him. The priest asked him, "Are you willing to marry this woman? To love her, be faithful to her, whether she is poor or rich, healthy or ill, until death?" Oliver's eyes shone brightly, and he looked at me with a smile as he answered, "I do." Then the priest asked me, "Are you willing to marry this man? To love him, be faithful to him, whether he is poor or rich, healthy or ill, until death?" I looked at Oliver the same way, but did not speak. Oliver frowned slightly and reminded me in a low voice, "Baby, say I do. Otherwise, people will laugh." He signaled for the priest to ask again. This time, I spoke. "I don't." The surroundings instantly erupted in uproar. I looked at the sadness rising in Oliver's eyes, then turned my head coldly and spoke toward the live streaming camera. "I have indeed been waiting for this day my entire life, but not so I could marry you. I waited so I could reveal a truth buried in dust in front of the whole world. Your grandfather, Mario, colluded with my adoptive father, Nestor, the director of Kyoto Hospital, 15 years ago to murder for money. They stole the heart donor meant for my biological brother Sam during surgery, leaving him to die slowly in the operating room." After I said that, the screen played surveillance footage of Nestor taking the heart away from the operating room, as well as the conversation between the old man and him about the heart donor. At the same time, everything was broadcast online. Mario would never have imagined that his slight soft-heartedness back then would become the canine tooth with which I bit him to death. Nestor kept the evidence of how you threatened him back then all this time. He adopted me because he planned to use me to climb onto your family. Mario clutched his chest and pointed at me, unable to catch his breath. Meanwhile, Nestor cursed me as an ungrateful wretch and rushed forward to kill me. I curved my lips into a cruel smile. Ungrateful wretch? You killed my brother and caused my mother to die of depression. All these years. Not a day has passed when I didn't want to rush into the kitchen and stab you both a few clean times. But I wasn't satisfied with that. My brother was dragged alive to his death, while we waited outside like fools every day. I wondered what my brother was thinking on that operating table. Did he cry out in pain? Did he call for help? I want the whole world to know your ugly crimes. Even after you die, your graves will be spat on by passers-by. Since I prepared for this, none of you will walk out alive today. I lifted my skirt and pulled out the gun I had long since hidden against my leg. I shot Nestor directly in the leg. The moment the gunshot rang out, the guests fled in all directions. Holding the gun, I approached Mario. Oliver suddenly tried to snatch the gun from me. Unfortunately, by now, the drug should have taken effect. Before the wedding, I had added something to his water. Now his hands and feet were weak, and he could only lie on the ground, watching me leave step by step. I raised the gun and aimed it at Mario. His eyes widened, and after trembling violently twice, he stopped breathing, frightened to death. I was quite satisfied with that way of dying, but I was afraid, so I still fired a shot. I was afraid you weren't dead enough. Taking advantage of that opening, Nestor had already crawled off to some unknown corner. When I found him, he was still trying to talk to me about old affection. I chose a few suitable spots and shot him several times. He would not die immediately, but he would bleed to death. Afterward, I returned to the stage and sat beside Oliver. His eyes were bloodshot, making him look unusually fierce. I looked at him and smiled. I won't kill you. You don't rank high enough. I didn't even prepare bullets for you. I opened the magazine. Inside, there was only one bare bullet left. You guessed it, didn't you? I leaned down against his chest, listening to the sound of the heartbeat, my tears soaking his clothes. This is my brother's heart. Do you know how I found out? At that time, you liked racing. After the accident, you were brought here covered in blood. I even glanced at you and told my mom, that brother is really good looking. The day my brother didn't come out, my mom was only focused on crying in agony. But I saw you again too, being sent out of the operating room. Before my mom died, she kept talking nonsense every day, saying she had heard that you were going to steal the heart, that you were going to harm her son. Sometimes, when her nightmares got bad, she would even strangle my neck with all her strength. At the funeral, I saw Nestor, and I decided that I had to investigate everything clearly. I ran out into the rain myself and caused my own high fever. I tricked Nestor into thinking I had lost my memory. Nestor also believed that by holding on to me, he was holding leverage over your family, and that gave me the opportunity. Only when I saw the evidence Nestor had secretly hidden did I learn that what my mother said was true. As I spoke, I suddenly broke down in tears. Tell me, my brother was so good. Why did he have to die? Wasn't it just that his life wasn't as valuable as yours? Chapter 22. The sound of police sirens came from outside the chapel. Under Oliver's stunned gaze, I softly said the final sentence of my life. The last bullet is mine. After the deafening bang, I seemed to see the road home from that year. The young man running ahead of me, dodging my fists. Come on, I saved some money. I'll buy you candy.